Okay, so welcome back to another plugin review dash overview dash tutorial. And on this occasion, we're going to talk about the XLN Audio RC-20 Retro Color. So this can do a lot of things. It's a very complete plugin. It can do noise, it can do distortion, it can do a little bit of reverb. It's just a fantastic plugin. This is one of my favorite plugins, and it's very good. And again, this company makes good plugins. So first, we're going to talk about an overview. We're going to go through the different stages of what this can do, and we're going to go through all the controls. So this is the tutorial part of the video. Now, first, we're going to start with this. I'm going to start with an init patch. So you have different stages. The first one is going to be the noise. So as soon as you click it, it's going to be turning it on and off. Of course, that's very obvious. I'm going to be playing something in the background, and that's the sound I'm going to use. And you can have different types of noises. You can do vinyl, you can do tape, and they maybe VHS, and they all sound very different. You can even get the JPH, the Jupiter 8 white noise, the synthesizer. It's pretty cool. And all the different noises are just a little bit different. I'm going to go up. And that's the vinyl, and it sounds like a vinyl noise. Now I'm going to go to tape, and tape is going to sound much different. DC, which is transformer, VHS, and of course I'm hyping all of this because I really want you to listen. If I go down, of course we can just do a little bit of this. Right. So pretty simple, you just select whatever noise that you wish, and that's going to be applied. Now, of course, you do have some options right here. You have the routing. Now, if you're using the EQ is going to be cutting this frequency. So I'm going to go right there, maybe select that one. It has a lot of high frequencies. And I'm going to be cutting the high frequencies. So notice that the EQ, the post EQ, this is of course comes after all of this. It's cutting those high frequencies. So the routing, it means that the EQ will not cut the noise. It's just unaffected. So maybe what you want to do, if you wish, you want to have some, noise playing in the background, and you can just use this as a noise machine. All right, pretty cool, pretty simple. Now, of course, then you have the tone. Now, this is going to be if it's a darker tone or is a brighter tone. And again, all of this is just EQing. I'm going to disable the EQ for now. It's just a boost on highs, or just going to be a lower noise. And then you have a very cool feature, because right now, the noise is kind of it's pretty constant, right? Every time that we play something, it's just there. Then you have the follow. So the follow, it means that it's going to use an envelope follower. It's going to listen to the audio, the incoming signal, and it's just going to go and move with the incoming signal. And this is very useful when you want to add a little bit of noise to some sound. And in this case, it's just giving us a little bit of that noise at the end of the snare and the kick. As you go up, it's going to be sharper. Okay. Now, some sounds like the vinyl, let me see if this is the one. Some sounds like the vinyl, if you go up, notice that the waveform. Some sounds, some peaks, some tones are going to be up, or, going to be very, sharp and up in volume, and some other ones are going to be very, low. So then you have the duck. The duck is a compressor. It's going to compress, and it's going to try to make, or kind of to even all of those peaks. So you get something a little bit more kind of compressed. You're evening all the sharpness out. Yeah, that's what the duck is. Now, at the same time, with the vinyl, what you get is the flux. And notice that for all of the other controls, all the other, modules, you get a flux. So what the flux is going to be a randomized kind of a feature. So right now we get this vinyl. As they go to the flux, it's going to go crazier because it's creating this in a more random way. We're gonna hear this clearly on the other modules. Maybe if we go to a different one. Okay. Notice how it sounds. If I go down, it's a bit more constant. It's actually super constant. And the flux is more random. We get more movement. So then I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to talk about this one in a minute. You have the distort. So this is the saturation or distortion part of the unit. Now you have different types. You don't have a lot, but you know, have enough. So I'm going to go to the tubes. Now, as soon as you go up, you're going to start hearing that it goes warmer. And it's because we are talking about tubes. Now, when you go really up, notice that the volume is going to go up as well. So right here, you have the gain adjust. So you need to adjust the gain so you don't clip. Now, the cool thing about this, of course, is when you change the sounds, notice it sounds very different. You know, just a bit less, a bit more. Notice how different it sounds. Very cool. Now, of course, you have some controls right here. Maybe this is too much for you. You can do a mix of the original sound and a mix of the, of course, distorted sound. And one very cool thing that you can do, you can focus your... Okay, that's my phone. You can focus whatever it is that you're crushing or distorting, like a multi-band compressor. Of course, it's not a multi-band compressor, but you can focus, for example, let's say I want to apply a saturation or distortion to the higher frequencies. Notice that the low is very consistent and the highs are being distorted of the drums. The lows are consistent and the highs are just distorted. Right. So the same thing you get on the other one is the flux. And this one again, it just will add some variation and some movement. And notice that we can really hear the movement. Right from the start, again, another good, cool thing that you could use with the noise and just get a wonderful sound. Very lo-fi. Okay, so let's talk about the digital. So the digital, it's a different way of kind of a, I want to say distorting, but it's a different type of saturation, which is the digital saturation. Now, if you go to the manual, they give you a very tiny explanation. And they say that whenever we started the whole, computer CPU kind of a studio and everything switched from consoles to making it to working on the box, you had this digital kind of a distortion. This is what this is. It's a bit crusher, pretty much. So you can go between right here in the middle, and you have the rate, and then you have the bits. So you can go to the rate, and I'm gonna go, and that's what you get. You get a bit crusher. In this case, you're just, messing with the rate. Now the bits, it works in a different way. It's more like a distortion or saturation. Now, of course, you can go and use a bit of both, or maybe a bit more bits or more rate. You can just select something right here and do a little bit of both. Now, this one, just like the distort, can, of course, apply it to some part. The thing is that, notice that if I trim this is only happening, let me do it on the lows, just a little bit less annoying. It's filtering whatever highs you have. And this is, again, it's a kind of an EQ, which is cutting everything from 311, maybe 500 in this case, and it's just applying this, and we're hearing this part. Now, and this is because we are using the cut. If we disable this, it works just like the distorting. It will do the bit crushing, or the digital in this case, just to this area, not this one. Now, of course, if this is just too much for you, you can do a little bit of blend and just get a tiny bit. Okay. Now, another thing, it's going to be the rate. So if I go to mix 100%, this is how, we get the rate, for example. And then you have a smooth control. So this is going to smooth it out. And again, it just sounds different. There's here, listen to the higher frequencies. Just more smooth. Just very lo-fi. Now at the same time, just like I'm gonna go to mix, you have the flux, and this one is the random part. Again, we're gonna get some movement right there. Let me go to both. Really weird, right? If it's too much for you, we can do a tiny blend. Maybe something like that. All right. So that's the digital. Okay, so I'm gonna go and talk about. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the wobble right now. So of course, the wobble, it's something that you get with tape. Whenever you were, back in the day, when you work with tape, it depends on the wear of the tape. It depends on the machine. You're gonna start to get some kind of a, I want to say weird noises. It's just part of the equipment. So, but you're gonna get some wow, and you're gonna get some flutter, and this is just part of the the tape world. So I'm gonna go and play a bass, and I'm gonna bring the wobble. Now I'm gonna whoa. We have whoa and we have flutter, and they work in a different way. So the wobble, notice it's gonna be like a detuning, and right here is gonna show you how it's applying this detuning. Now, of course, all of this has to do with its speed. And I'm gonna go and increase the rate so that detuning is gonna be just much faster. Now, this could be a good thing. It's a cool thing when you use, for example, a synthesizer. That you want a little bit of, of modulation on your pitch. Now, of course, this is just too much. So you can go down on the blend and do a tiny bit. All right, so that's what the rate means. Now, this rate is for the wow. Whoa. Now then, if you go to the flutter is just a bit different. And notice that it's a bit faster. Just sounds a little bit different. Now, if I go really slow on the rate and I go to 50%, you can do wow and flutter. And notice that this is going up and down. So the wow is just going up and down at the pitch. And the flutter is going to be the inside that line that goes up and down. If I go here, notice we get kind of a sine wave. It is kind of a sine wave. But within the sine wave, if I go to the flutter, we get that. Now, if you go all the way to the flutter, we're just getting the flutter. Now, of course, it's very fast. You can go a little bit slower, and you go super fast. He's gonna start get that sound. And you can, of course, get both. Now, since this is, of course, working on the pitch, you can do a little bit of offsetting, from the left and right, and it's just gonna make it wider. And it's even going to show you how it's doing it behind the scenes, the left and the right speaker. Now, of course, this is just too much. I'm going to do a little bit, maybe something like there. And it's too much wobble. And that's nice. Right, so that's the wobble. Now, at the end of the day, remember that this is very constant. So the flux is going to randomize this a little bit, which is, again, a bit more natural, a more realistic approach to the wobbling. All right. Oh, pretty cool. Now, this would be something that I could use on, since on the bass sounds very good because, sounds cool because it's a synth bass. So, okay, so I'm going to go back to the drums and I'm back to an init patch and I'm going to talk about the magnetic. So, of course, back in the day when you recorded everything, you didn't record in digital. You don't go to the interface and you record directly. You go through something, then it goes through tape, and then, of course, you know, it goes to the final take and blah, 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 blah. So there was a lot of tape. So that's why it's magnetic, because whenever you use tape, the tape gets recorded with magnets, right? There's a magnet working on the tape. That's how it worked back in the day. Now, sorry, let me just solo the drums. So this one is gonna kind of simulate the wearing of the tape and that magnet. So as you get more wear, you're gonna start getting kind of some inconsistencies on the on the balance and the the overall sound. Notice that it sounds crappy, and that's because it's too much wear. Now, if you're using stereo, you can still use mono, and again, you're gonna get this going up and down. Now, of course, you can go and have dropouts, and this is because your equipment needs maintaining. You're using a tape machine and it's not working properly. Maybe you're gonna need to take it to a service. So you're getting dropouts. Now, of course, this is nice, and it could be used as an effect. Now, we're doing a lot. Now, the idea of this is just to do a tiny bit and just to get this sound. So then you have the flutter, which is pretty much the same that you get on the other one. Notice that this one and this one are related. It's tape related. So if we go to the flutter and go to 100%, notice it's a bit different from this one. Now, the effect in this one, it's subtle. You could use it subtle, right, like that, or you can just go up and just kind of you're gonna notice the differences. It's not constant, and it shouldn't be constant. Now, if you want more randomness, this is gonna give you that randomness. And again, the whole idea of this plugin is just to lo-fi things. But at the end of the day, if you just don't want just to lo-fi, you can use a little bit of saturation, maybe a little bit of bit crushing, and there you go. It's not lo-fi anymore. It's just you're using it as a normal, you're using it as a normal plugin, an effects chain. Then we have the space, and the space is the reverb side of this, this thing. And it's just a normal reverb. It's kind of a nice, very nice sounding reverb. Of course, it's pretty large. You can manage the decay right here, and again, it's massive. If I go down, we are going to be entering into kind of the room, realm, but it's still quite large. So this is more like a shimmer verb, let's say. I wouldn't say shimmer, but it's just a larger reverb. Of course, I'm doing too much. You need to do a little bit. Notice the depth. Now, I'm gonna go right here so we can, hear everything that's going on. Now, of course, you can select the pre-delay of this one right here, just like any standard reverb. You can go stereo or you can go mono, and you can focus which area you want to apply the reverb. So this is like an EQ. Notice that we are still getting pretty much the whole sound. And if I go to 100%, the one being reverbed, we get more of the higher reverb frequencies. If I go to everything, we get everything. Notice that now we get the lows. So this is cutting the highs. Just a little bit different. I want to see cutting, but yeah, it's doing something like that. Right. So at the end of the day, of course, let me just go right here because now it's just too annoying. The flags again, it's just gonna give you a little bit of randomization. It's the least noticeable of all, the other effects. But right. So it's a very nice reverb. Now, of course, the market is just, the plugin market. It's filled with good reverbs. So I cannot say that this is my favorite reverb. It works very good when you blend it with the other sounds. It's just fantastic. I wouldn't use it just as a standalone reverb. But again, this is my opinion. That's completely up to you. So of course, you can do a little bit of space right here. You can do a little bit of magnetic, maybe a little bit of wear right here. Make it stereo. Right? Give you a little bit of a tube saturation, just like this. And I'm gonna go aggressive on this one. And I'm gonna go a little bit of noise. Maybe I'm gonna use tape. Fine. So pretty nice, right? It sounds vintagey. Of course, it adds density. Notice that the peak meter right here is not going crazy when I turn it off. It's actually going lower. It's because it's adding density. Now let me bring the nose back. So the thing is that maybe you think you're doing too much, right? It's just too much. So you want to go down. So instead of going down on each single knob, what you can do, you can use the magnitude. And the magnitude is going to bring down all at once. It's like a blend control. Let's say. Notice that everything is at 100%. And if I go right here, now everything is a little bit down. But it's applying on all the different knobs, all the different modules. Now right here, of course, you have the options. That's fine. Right. So that's fine. That's fine for me. Okay. So then, of course, you can control how much in gain you have, because this is, again, a saturation device. So if you want to really crank it or kind of provide more gain so this can react a little bit better, you can provide gain, you can have the output gain, and see if you're using the space, you can make it wider. So it's gonna make everything that's stereo just wide. And notice that the magnitude works on the width as well. And the same thing is gain. So if I go to 100%, everything gets moved. So for now, I'm gonna go to 100%. Now this is really wide. So this, right here in the middle, it's 100%. It's already stereo. So right here is like you're using a widener plugin. So it's completely up to you. And at the end of the day, since this is gonna generate a lot of harmonics and distortion and saturation, you can cut a little bit with the EQ. You can make the tone darker, or you can make the tone brighter. And of course, you have two different modes. It's high, or you can do a more narrow, which is in the midst. Okay. So if you don't want to use this, you have kind of a more standard EQ. So you can cut from the lows and you can cut from the highs. And remember, this is reacting on post. It's cutting and, cutting everything that comes out of this. Unless you're using the post feature on the noise. Now, of course, since you can cut like this, notice that it's a low shelf. You have this one, which is going to be the same cutting, but it has a little bit of boost right there at the bottom. That's why we get a bump on the low end. Really cool. Same this on this one on the highs. This one is a bit more, let's say, less aggressive. It's very soft, like it says right there. But if you want to go aggressive, just cut a little bit more. Just cut more. There's no information of how, if it's a 2-pole or 4-pole, 60-pole or what on the manual, but It's much more aggressive, that's for sure. Or you can completely disable. So that's it. That's the, that's the whole plugin. So now you know all the controls, you know how to use it, you know what everything means. The only thing left, and I'm not going to go through this because it's very simple to understand, is the preset browser. You can just get a lot of presets. They're very cool presets. And one of my favorite things is that if you want to save the preset, sometimes you just don't know which name you want to select. So you get a randomized name. And this is a very cool feature. Get a random name. That's it. So now it's time for my review. I love this. Like I said at the beginning, this is a great plugin. It worth every single penny. And it's just one of my favorite plugins. Now, of course, again, this is a kind of a lo-fi plugin. You can use it for different purposes, of course, just to add a bit of color. That's why it's called, retro color. But it doesn't have to be retro. You can still use it on modern kind of a productions. But it's a must-have. It's one of the those plugins that you would be proud or happy after you buy it. If you're the kind of guy, and I'm not judging, that only uses a stock plugin, which is okay. This one is one of the plugins that you might be risking your wallet and spending some money, and just use it. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be disappointed. All right, so that's my, conclusion. Of course, this is my opinion. You can leave your comments on the bottom, leave your opinion at the bottom, and hopefully you like this. You find this informative, and now you learned how the retro color works. And remember to like, to subscribe, and to check Patreon, of course, to keep the lights on this channel. And see you on the next one.